Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about The Haunting Hour, Season 3, Episode 22, I believe, Dead Bodies. So this is the sequel to first season Dead Body. And it's a pretty enticing, intense sequel and everything. Like they really went there in a different route. It changes slightly from that of the first interpretation. I still think the first one is very creepy, but this one is just like holy crap. Like they added so much more lore to it and stuff that kind of contradicts the first one a little bit, but not really. This is also another good episode from season 3. I particularly don't like season 3 that much, or season 4, because they started off good, but then they kind of end in a whimper, and then they also give like moral lessons. But this is a really cool episode. So the three main characters, Jake, Anna, and Will, all reappear in this episode. So I love how they got the original cast back. And you gotta remember, this is 2 years after the first and everything. And so the dude who plays Will and the dude who plays Jake, they've been in other episodes before. Also, there's a Wrath in this episode. It's kind of like this ghoulish Grim Reaper type thing. That person was in like Mascot and some other ones. And I think Gollum. And so like, one thing I appreciate about this episode, it adds on to, a new layer, a new like storytelling from that of the first episode, Dead Bodies and stuff. But like I said before, it does contradict a little bit, but not too much. And so one thing that always weirded me out is that, okay, this takes place 3 months after that of Dead Body. And so nobody has seen Will. There's missing posters for him and everything, flyers, you name it. Now, Will's best friend from the first episode, who was barely in the first episode, never get shown in this episode. He was barely in Dead Bodies. You'd think he would be the one being like, where's my best friend at, blah, 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 stuff like that. But no, we don't get to see this dude. And so you might be wondering, well, what happened after 3 months and Will went missing and Jake is now in the land of the living and all this other stuff? Well, Anna is still sad that Will is missing and everything. She doesn't understand what happened to him. He just up and vanished, and she just doesn't understand that. And apparently, it's senior year and everything now. And Will is just like, roaming around, keeping an eye on Anna and everything. He misses her. He had a huge crush on her. Will has a different hairstyle in this episode. And it's like, oh, so they give haircuts in the underworld? And they even show flashbacks of like, his first appearance with his old hairstyle. And it's like, they should have just reshot that. Because he had long, shaggy hair in Dead Bodies. Either put a wig on him now or just reshoot that part. And so what has Anna been up to since in 3 months? Well, she's been dating Jake. Yes, the ghost from 1950s that died in a fire because bullies picked on him, who lied to Will, terrified his bullies, and then swapped places between Will and the land of the living and the dead. She's dating him, and she has no idea he's bad because Jake showed up at the end of the episode to dance with Anna, and so they really just hit it off, which really annoys that of Will. And so Jake is acting like, the perfect little boyfriend towards her and everything, but he's also now a bad boy. He is weird because when we saw him in the flashbacks in the first time we saw him, he was just a nerdy, dorky little dude who got picked on by all the jocks. But we knew he was bad because of how he tricked Will. That would made the ending so perfectly. It ended on a dark note. But here it's just shown he's just a bad boy all around. That whole James Dean, slick back hair and the comb and stuff like that from 1950s. And so, like, I think he even drives like a Mustang and stuff like that, back at reminiscence of the old days. So anyway, um, she has to study for her SATs, and he's kind of like, nah, hang out with me and everything. So she's been slipping in her grades because she's constantly hanging out with Jake. And so at some point, we see Will, and he's like, because Jake can hear him and everything. And so, but Will is fading in and out of reality. Like he's just a ghost and everything, but he can't hold his form, and he keeps seeing him flicker and stuff, which is different because Jake could always hold his ghost form in the first time we saw him. And not only that, but we know he can't touch nobody and stuff because Jake never wanted to be touched in, the first time we saw him, and he never touches nobody even when he tortured them and stuff. Although the one dude, no, he didn't touch nobody. Anyway, um, so Will's all like, I will find a way to come back alive, and blah blah stuff like that. And so Jake, even though he's been around for 3 months, he still doesn't understand what certain things are in the 21st century. He doesn't understand what a blog is. Now you think he would know that in 3 months. So we get to see where Jake is living at in a mechanic shop. And he still loves eating cheeseburgers. Because remember, they used to love cheeseburgers back in like the 1950s and 60s. Well, at some point in time, we see the Wraith appear and scare the piss out of Jake. It's all like, you must come back to the land of the dead and da 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 da. And you're upsetting the balance and blah blah, stuff like that. So Jake needs another sacrifice. So apparently, this is tying into what happened in the first time. Apparently, um, this is why he took Will's life. Now, what's weird is that we never got no hint of this in the first time. There was no Wraith in the first time. So anyway, he takes Anna on a date. They go on the cliffside of a mountain, and it's pretty steep down there. The CGI is bad on that mountain cliff. Um, but I understand they didn't want to hurt the cast and stuff. And so he's talking to Anna and all this other stuff, and she mentions Will at some point. Will is just kind of like, Anna, leave him, blah, 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 stuff like that. And so Jake starts to rot. His face starts to like decompose and everything, and it's very gruesome. This is real prosthetics and paint they used on him. Impressive. It would be CGI today if they were to do it today. And so, like, she's scared, she's freaking out. He's all like, look, just take my hand and everything, and everything. And, and so, like, she doesn't understand why he wants to grab her hand so much. He could have just, I don't know what it is. Like, it's weird because it's different from his first appearance. He could have just threw her off the ledge and took her life that way, but I guess it don't work that way. But I guess if you're willing to take a person's hand, then it could swap that way. I don't know. It's different from the first appearance, the rules of how you like swap bodies. So he's all like, just take my hand, take my hand. And she's like, no. And then, but she's holding her hand out for some whatever reason, and Will grabs her hand. And Will is now back in the land of the living. He doesn't know how. Jake doesn't know how either. So this is the part that's confusing. Like, the new rules don't make no sense. I'll explain that a little bit later. So Will is gonna be the hero. He's whooping on Jake and everything, just punching him left and right. But Jake gets the upper hand. And so as he's about to get rid of Will, the Wraith comes back, and it's all like, your time is near and everything like that. And so he's freaking out. Everybody's freaking out because the Wraith is like this shadowy, dark figure in a cloak and everything, right? It grabs Jake by the top of his head, and he just evaporates. It like absorbs him back into the underworld. So Anna's just like, what the heck has just happened? And Will's just like, it's over with now, and blah blah. And he's all like, and he sees the Wraith still like sparkling and everything like that. I don't know why it's sparkling now, but there's like a light shining, and Will's like, I guess it's my time and everything. And she's like, what are you talking about? He's all like, it's okay, I'm at peace and everything. I'm ready to go back into the underworld. But then all of a sudden, he's allowed to stay. The Wraith has allowed him to stay and live out his life because they know what Jake did was wrong, taking his life. So now those two are happy, and he's being a little bit of a softy, talking about you have to study now, like you have to go home and you have to study and you have to pass that test and blah 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 and stuff like that. And so it ends. And but then we see Jake's comb on the ground, and then all of a sudden his hand busts up and like grabs like the comb, but then it goes back into the underworld. The ending was a little tacked on, a little too cliche. They could have left that part out with the hand coming up from the ground or whatever and grabbing the comb just to bring it back. It just shows that, oh, hey, he wants his comb in like the underground and stuff. Now, the rules, like I said, have changed. In the first appearance of this Dead Body episode, Jake can walk around the land of the living as a ghost, but he doesn't flicker. He can stay in there like no problem. And he's even able to scare the piss out of people by causing bugs to crawl on them, and turning monstrous in the face with razor sharp teeth and everything like that. So there's no hint of that in this episode. Also, the way he was able to switch from the land of the living to the dead is that he had Will go back in a flashback in his memory in the gym. And when Will rescued Jake from the burning fire in the cage, he was able to switch bodies that way, and then Jake died in that nightmarish dream. Here, there's no mention of that. There's no emphasis on that. There's no emphasis on how you switch bodies. Now it's just like in order, and then now all of a sudden, even though that he's flesh and living, Jake is his body is rotting and stuff, which is weird. And so I guess in order to take a life, he just wants somebody to grab his hand. That don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? That made no sense of how Will came back. But all in all, it is a good, creepy episode. Now, wasn't that spooky? Alright, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.